What would you do if a powerful woman who had everything suddenly needed the one thing only you could give her? A heartbreaking choice, an unexpected connection, and a journey that will change two lives forever, asterisk. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more emotional journeys that will touch your heart. Your support means everything. The charity gala at the Westbrook Hotel was exactly as Lucifer Carter expected, pretentious, overpriced, and filled with people who donated more for the tax write-off than actual compassion. But as a contractor who'd recently completed renovations on the hotel's east wing, his presence was somewhat obligatory. The black tie felt like a noose around his neck, a reminder that he didn't belong among Manhattan's elite. Lucifer sipped his champagne in the corner, counting the minutes until he could leave without seeming rude. At 38, he had built his construction company from nothing after his wife passed away 5 years ago. Now he juggled business ownership with raising his teenage daughter alone, a balancing act that left little time for charity galas. That's when he saw her. Linda Montgomery swept into the room like she owned it, which, in fact, she did. The Montgomery Group owned not just this hotel but half the real estate in the financial district. At 42, Linda was a force of nature, her sleek black gown accentuating a confidence that came from being worth billions. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon, diamond earrings catching the light with every calculated turn of her head. Lucifer had seen her before, of course. Her face graced business magazines and society pages alike. But he'd never been in the same room with her, never felt the strange electricity that seemed to follow in her wake. He was so distracted watching her work the room that he didn't notice when she approached him. "You're the contractor, aren't you?" Her voice was cool, appraising. "The one who refused to cut corners on the East Wing renovation despite my CFO's insistence." Lucifer straightened. "I don't compromise on quality, Ms. Montgomery. Not even for the Montgomery Group." A smile played at the corner of her mouth. "That cost me an extra $2 million. That saved you from a potential structural collapse that would have cost you considerably more, both in money and lives." She studied him for a long moment, then extended her hand. "Linda Montgomery. Lucifer Carter." He shook her hand, surprised by the firmness of her grip. "Lucifer? That's certainly memorable." He shrugged. "My mother had a flair for the dramatic. Said if I was going to raise hell, I might as well be named for it." "And do you? Raise hell?" "Only when necessary." Something in her eyes shifted, a calculation, an assessment. "I like people who stand their ground, Mr. Carter. Even against me." She handed him her card. "Call my office tomorrow. I have another project I'd like to discuss." Before he could respond, she was gone, swept away by a congressman eager for her attention. Lucifer stared at the embossed card in his hand, wondering what he'd just gotten himself into. The Montgomery Group headquarters occupied the top 10 floors of a gleaming skyscraper in Midtown. Lucifer felt distinctly out of place as he rode the elevator to the executive floor, even though he'd traded his usual work clothes for his one decent suit. Linda's assistant, a young man with a perpetually worried expression, led him through a maze of glass and steel to her office. The space was minimalist and cold, all white furniture and floor-to-ceiling windows offering a godlike view of the city below. Linda sat behind a desk that could have doubled as a runway, her fingers flying over a keyboard. She didn't look up when he entered. "Mr. Carter. Punctual. Another quality I appreciate." She finished typing, then finally met his eyes. "Please, sit." He took the offered chair, noting how it seemed designed to make visitors feel small. "Your assistant mentioned a renovation project?" "Not exactly." Linda closed her laptop and leaned forward. "What I'm about to discuss is highly personal and requires absolute discretion." Lucifer frowned. "Ms. Montgomery, if this isn't about construction. I want a baby." The words hung in the air between them. Lucifer blinked, certain he'd misheard. "Excuse me?" I want a child, Mr. Carter. And I need your help to make that happen. Lucifer felt like he'd stepped into some bizarre alternate reality. Why me? Linda stood, walking to the window. For a moment, her perfect posture faltered. I've built an empire, Mr. Carter. I've created wealth beyond what most people can comprehend. I've changed skylines and influenced legislation. She turned to face him. But I'm 42 years old, and I've realized there's one thing all my money can't buy me: time. I still don't understand what this has to do with me. I've been watching you. After our meeting at the gala, I had you thoroughly investigated. You what? Lucifer stood, anger flashing across his face. Please understand, I needed to be certain. She picked up a folder from her desk. You're a widower. Your wife died of complications from leukemia 5 years ago. You have a 16-year-old daughter who's on the honor roll at Westside High. You built your company from nothing, maintain ethical business practices, and despite numerous opportunities, have never remarried or even seriously dated. This is completely inappropriate. Lucifer moved toward the door. You're also a perfect genetic match for what I'm looking for. He stopped, hand on the doorknob. What exactly are you proposing, Ms. Montgomery? I want you to be a sperm donor. Clinical, anonymous, and well compensated. Lucifer laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. You can't be serious. I'm prepared to offer you $5 million. The number hit him like a physical blow. $5 million would secure his daughter's college education, expand his business, set them both up for life. Why not go to a sperm bank? There are thousands of donors. Linda's perfect composure cracked slightly. I have 3 failed IVF attempts. My doctors believe I need a fresh donation, and I want to know who the biological father is. Not some anonymous profile in a database. And you chose me because you have qualities I admire. Integrity. Resilience. Intelligence without pretension. She hesitated. And you've already proven you can father a healthy child. Lucifer felt a surge of protectiveness. Leave my daughter out of this. Of course. Linda returned to her desk. This would be a business arrangement, Mr. Carter. Nothing more. You provide what I need, I compensate you generously, and our paths never need to cross again. And the child? What about them? The child would be mine alone. You would have no rights or responsibilities. Lucifer shook his head. A child isn't a construction project, Ms. Montgomery. You can't just order the materials and expect perfect results. Something flashed in her eyes, vulnerability, perhaps, or anger at being questioned. I'm well aware of that. But unlike most people who have children on a whim or by accident, I've thought this through completely. I have the resources to provide everything a child could need. Except a father. Many children grow up without fathers. Some are better off for it. Lucifer moved toward the door again. I need to think about this. Of course. Take 24 hours. Her voice regained its businesslike tone. My assistant will show you out. Lucifer's modest home in Queens felt like a different universe from Linda Montgomery's sterile office. The living room was cluttered with his daughter's textbooks and soccer gear, the kitchen still showing signs of their hurried breakfast. He poured himself a whiskey and sat at the kitchen table, Linda's proposition turning over in his mind. $5 million would change everything for them. His daughter, Sophia, could go to any college she wanted. He could expand his business, hire more people, take on bigger projects. But the idea of fathering a child he would never know, it felt wrong on a fundamental level. When Sophia came home from soccer practice, she found him still sitting there, the whiskey untouched. Dad? Everything okay? She dropped her backpack on the counter, her dark hair, so like her mother's, falling across her face. Just thinking about a job offer. He managed a smile. How was practice? Coach says I might make varsity next year. She grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl. What kind of job? Something big? You could say that. He watched his daughter, seeing echoes of himself and his late wife in her features. Soph, do you ever feel like you missed out, growing up without your mom? Her expression sobered. Sometimes. But I had you. She sat across from him. Why are you asking? Is this about you dating again? Because I told you, I'm totally fine with it. No, it's not that. He sighed. Just thinking about family, that's all. She studied him with the perceptiveness that sometimes caught him off guard. Whatever this job is, it's really bothering you. It's complicated. Try me. I am 16, you know. Practically an adult. He smiled at that. Practically. So what's the job? It's... He hesitated. It's for Linda Montgomery. Sophia's eyes widened. The Linda Montgomery? The billionaire? You know who she is? Dad, everyone knows who she is. She was on the cover of Forbes last month. She's like, the most powerful businesswoman in New York. Sophia leaned forward. What does she want you to build? It's not exactly a construction job. He rubbed his face. It's more personal. Oh my God, is she into you? Sophia's expression was somewhere between horror and fascination. No. Nothing like that. He took a deep breath. She wants to have a baby. She asked me to be the donor. Sophia's mouth fell open. Whoa. Yeah. And she's offering you money? A lot of money. Sophia was quiet for a moment, processing. Would it be like, my half-sibling? The question hit him hard. He hadn't even thought of it that way. Biologically, yes. Would I get to know them? No. The agreement would be that I have no involvement. Sophia frowned. That seems sad. For the kid, I mean. That's what I thought too. But the money would help us, right? It would. Your college, the business, we'd be set. Sophia picked at the apple stem. Mom would say there are some things money can't buy. Lucifer felt a surge of love for his daughter, so young and yet sometimes so wise. She would, wouldn't she? What are you going to do? He shook his head. I don't know yet. The next morning, Lucifer found himself back in Linda Montgomery's office. She sat across from him, perfectly composed as always, but he noticed the slight tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers tapped once, twice against the desk before stilling. Have you made a decision, Mr. Carter? I have questions first. She nodded. Of course. Why do you want a child? Really? The question seemed to surprise her. That's rather personal. You're asking me to help create a human being. It doesn't get more personal than that. Linda was quiet for a long moment. I never wanted children. Not when I was building my career. There was always another deal, another acquisition, another goal to reach. She stood, moving to the window again. My mother died last year. She was the last family I had. At the funeral, I realized I've built all this. She gestured to the empire visible from her window, but there's no one to leave it to. No one who carries on any part of me. A child isn't a legacy project. I'm aware of that. There was a flash of irritation in her voice. Despite what you may think of me, Mr. Carter, I do understand that a child is a person, not a possession. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're treating this like a transaction. Find the right genetic material, pay the right price, and 9 months later, you get your product. That's unfair. Is it? You investigated me like I was a company you were considering acquiring. You offered me money like you were purchasing services. Have you thought about what it actually means to raise a child? The sleepless nights, the worry, the complete reordering of your priorities? I've considered all of that. Have you? Because I don't see a nursery here. I don't see toys or children's books. I don't see anything in your life that suggests you're prepared for the reality of parenthood. Linda's composure finally cracked. You think I haven't thought about this? You think this was an impulsive decision? Her voice rose slightly. I've spent the last 2 years trying to have a child. I've been through medical procedures you can't imagine. I've redesigned my home, rearranged my schedule, interviewed nannies and schools. I've done everything except find the right donor. Lucifer was taken aback by her emotion. I'm sorry. I didn't know. No, you didn't. You assumed, based on what you think you know about me. She took a deep breath, regaining control. I may be approaching this differently than most women, Mr. Carter, but my desire for a child is no less genuine. He studied her, seeing beyond the polished exterior for the first time. Why not adoption? I've considered it. I may still pursue it if this doesn't work out. She returned to her desk. But I wanted to try this first. And if I say no? Then I'll find someone else. She met his eyes. But I'd prefer it to be you. Lucifer took a deep breath. I can't do it. Not the way you're proposing. Something like disappointment flickered across her face. I see. But I have a counteroffer. Linda raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. No money. No contracts. No anonymous donation. Then what? If I help you have this child, I want to be involved in their life. Not as a full-time parent, but as a presence. Someone they know. Someone who's there. Linda stared at him. That's not what I want. It's what the child will need. You don't know that. I know what it's like to lose a parent. I know what it's like to raise a child alone. And I know that if I help create a life, I can't just walk away from it. Linda stood, her posture rigid. Then I'm afraid we have nothing more to discuss. Lucifer nodded, unsurprised. I thought you might say that. He moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I think you'd probably be a good mother. You're determined, resourceful, intelligent. But a child needs more than one person in their corner. Thank you for your time, Mr. Carter. He left without another word, feeling both relieved and strangely disappointed. 3 weeks later, Lucifer was on a job site in Brooklyn when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. Carter Construction. Mr. Carter. It's Linda Montgomery. He stepped away from the noise of the site. Ms. Montgomery. This is unexpected. I've been thinking about what you said. Her voice sounded different, less controlled, more human. About a child needing more than one person in their corner. And I'd like to discuss your counteroffer. Over dinner, perhaps? Lucifer was silent for a moment, surprised. Why the change of heart? There was a pause on the other end. Because you were right. I've been approaching this like a business transaction. And it's not. It's more important than that. Dinner, then. He found himself smiling slightly. But not at one of your hotels. Somewhere normal. Define normal. A place where the menu doesn't require a translator and people don't look at you funny if you use the wrong fork. He could almost hear her smile. I think I can manage that. Lucifer suggested a small Italian restaurant in his neighborhood, half expecting Linda to cancel when she realized where it was. But at 7 o'clock sharp, she walked through the door, looking both out of place and strangely vulnerable in her designer clothes. The owner, Mario, who had known Lucifer for years, raised his eyebrows appreciatively but said nothing as he led them to a corner table. "This is charming," Linda said, looking around at the red-checkered tablecloths and family photos on the walls. "Best lasagna in Queens," Lucifer replied. "And Mario doesn't care who you are as long as you appreciate